Hey everybody, Callum here, and a slightly different kind of video today as well. Now, apologies, could not have picked the worst time to record a video in front of the camera because, everyone's been in lockdown for the past, year now at this point, so certainly don't really have the clothes to be on camera. I'm a bit unkempt, and it is freezing cold, so I am sniffing and coughing and spluttering everywhere. Anyway, pre-warning, I suppose, but welcome to back to my channel, and also welcome, of course, to my land. So it's kind of crazy for me still to say this, but this is my land. I actually have a patch of land at home where I grew up, where I can start potentially building and doing whatever I want on it. That's the point. I can do whatever I want on it. That's what's still kind of crazy to me. This is my land for me to mess up in any way that I see fit. But for context, I was born and raised on Raasay, this island, the Isle of Raasay. It is a small Hebridean island in the Inner Hebrides of Scotland. So the Isle of Skye is just over there. From here I can see Braes. I've got an incredible view of Glamig, which is the kind of main hill that you can see from this end of the island, all covered in snow. It's absolutely incredible. And then over in that direction to the east, you've got mainland Scotland. But yeah, I was born and raised here, grew up my whole life on the island, moved away for college and uni for a few years. I worked at sea, so I was kind of half on the island, half off the island. I didn't kind of officially live here in most regards. And I lived up in Orkney as well for a little while. I like my islands. I really enjoyed living up in Orkney. But I moved back here in 2017, sort of officially, for my first job on the island, I suppose, because there aren't traditionally many jobs on Raasay. And it was at the distillery. The Isle of Raasay distillery just opened. It was a few days into production. We're now 3 years in, so we've now actually just released our first whiskey. So it's kind of crazy how slowly and quickly that time has passed. But yeah, Raasay is a very small island, about 160 people. The comparison I always use is that Raasay is almost the exact same size, shape and area as Manhattan Island. If you look up a picture of Raasay, picture of Manhattan, they're almost like strange mirror images of each other. The difference in population is quite interesting too, because Manhattan, last time I checked, is about 1.6 million residents, and we've got about 161 residents, brought up to 162 when I moved back home, I suppose, in 2017. So that was 3 years ago. Obviously, the whole time, my whole life, I've always wanted a place to live. I like my cars, tractors, boats. I've got a lot of projects on the go all the time. So I wanted my own land to do stuff. I like gardening and I like working on things and being outside. And obviously, the dream of everyone is to own a home. It's difficult on the islands, it's difficult in Scotland, and it's difficult in the UK to both buy land, build houses and afford to do either of them, because land is more precious in the UK, it's more expensive. Building is a lot more expensive compared to a lot of countries too. And certainly building in the islands where we are, you've got the added trouble of the fact that there's less space to build in terms of kind of geology and geography and stuff. There's more restrictions on certain types of land, both on a kind of historical basis, but also things like croft land and certain forms of farmland that are restricted in what you can build on them. And then, of course, you've got materials. Anything you build, unless it comes from the island, has to be brought in by the ferry, and that can become very, very expensive very, very fast. So there's a lot of challenges in the way doing it. And I'd been looking at houses and stuff, but very few houses and pieces of land come up here that often. But then in just the end of last year, so this was in about, end of 2019, I was up here. Now, for context, my parents' house is just over there, so it's literally just behind those trees. It seems far away, but once all the roddies are down, it's pretty close. My grandparents' house, just down there. And this area was a bit of kind of wasteland. There's houses kind of pocketed all around us here. Obviously, they're closer to the shore. We're a bit further up the hill, and it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere, although actually everything's quite close. But the problem is this land is completely overtaken with rhododendrons. And throughout my life, this was just a little bit of a playground patch of land round the back. Just right there, behind me is my old treehouse. There's still some remains of the rope up there. There are some old trailers and forts and stuff that we built down there. That's actually where I filmed my rhododendron video, if anyone's watched that, about the kind of dangers of invasive rhododendron, all that kind of stuff. So not a place that I ever really seriously considered as somewhere you could build or develop in any way. But end of last year, I came up here and I suddenly realized that there was a power line right here. Now, this power line had been installed by a family that were building a house just down from us over there near the road. Now, it costs thousands to put in power lines. The power line is hundreds of meters up on the hillside over there. And to actually get the power down to this new house, what they had to do is get the power company to put in at least, I'm trying to count them now, maybe 4 or 5 different pylons, then a transformer box at the end here under the ground, and then route it down through our land. Now, they passed through our land to do this. They got permission from us, and didn't think of anything about that at the time. Just like I say, a very expensive way of getting their power in, because there was no other way to get it down there. But when I came up here, I suddenly realised, hold on, there is power on this site. And I noticed that transformer box, because if it had just been power for one house, it wouldn't have been any use. But the fact they put that transformer box on, I think the companies do this quite a lot, so that they now have options in case they want to route power to any other houses nearby in the future. And that's basically what I thought. Could I now build something up here, route the power into it for almost nothing? Contacted the power company, and they basically said, yeah, you could probably do a connection anywhere in this immediate area for about £400, which is, you know, nothing in the context of what you're normally paying for these sorts of connections around here. And since then, slowly but surely, I've been kind of ramping up to start doing a proper house build here, essentially. Again, it feels quite weird to actually say that, owning a land and building a house. But you know, it took us a wee while to get kind of like stuff sorted out and get the land transferred over to me. We basically portioned it off from my parents and my grandparents, and kind of, you know, I've got this section up here, and we're now in the process of trying to put a road in. So what I thought I would do is, we'll have a look around the site. I'll show you all the stuff that we've got. I'll show you maybe what my plans are and what I want to do. And maybe this can be a somewhat irregular series where I update you guys on the progress of building a house on Raasay, which is going to be interesting. That's the diplomatic way I am going to be putting it. But yeah, so let's have a wee look around. So it's all a bit of a mess right now, but the idea is going to be that the house sort of begins here. So this is the back of the house. You then walk in. At the front, you've got this amazing view over towards Glamig, the hills over there. You've got the water down there in the distance. Out in this direction, which looks a bit underrated. I mean, you'd look at it and it just looks a bit like a moorland, but the sun comes up over here. You've got the amazing old tomb that I made a video about, which is just literally up there. To me, actually, this is going to be one of the best views. You've got a lot of deer and wildlife out there and stuff too. So I think my hope is you're going to get, think of this as view B, that is view A, that is view C, and then behind us is view D. However, it's not a bad view, it's just there's a lot of rhododendrons, there's a lot of trees and stuff like that in the way. Obviously that's a feature, I like that, but I'm not going to prioritise that view because I can't guarantee how much of it I'm actually going to have. So, of course, I guess this is the big one, the road. So the road right now runs from here all the way down, and then it branches and it goes to my parents or it goes down to my granddad's. Now in the future, the idea is the road's going to basically go straight down all the way to the bottom of the road where my parents' driveway starts, and we'll get kind of shared ownership of that. Right now, you know, it looks muddy, but it's very functional. It does work. There's a lot of mud here, but just beneath this layer of mud and soil, the ground is, again, really quite solid. It doesn't drain away very easily, but we have actually put drains through these sections of the forest over here. This is my favourite part of the whole area. I love these trees. This is one of the main reasons I'm actually trying to do this build, is I really want to clear these roddies out to free up these trees. I think they're just gorgeous. I want them to grow more. You know, I want to grow more of them. And I think in the future, the site is going to basically be split between the home up here, the front where, you know, the driveway is, and I've got a shed down there, and the forest in the middle, this lovely big forest. I can put maybe a little bothy or a fire pit in here, clear it out. Well, that's the dream anyway, we'll see. Even in here in the middle of the mud, where, you know, it's pretty blocked up by all of the roddies and, you know, you can't see very much, the view is still incredible, you know, especially certain times of the day, especially in the summertime in the evening, when the light's coming down really low and you've got that whole area just lit up in orange. It's absolutely gorgeous. Like I say, I love this forest. This is my favourite aspect of the whole place. And one of the things that I really don't want to do is I don't want to cut down trees if I don't need to. Now, there's a lot of birch trees here, or there's a few here and there. Those are fine. Those grow relatively fast. It's more the Scots pines that I'm trying to preserve. You can see though, there's not much space between them here. So the road's probably going to snake between them, or if we can find a kind of path that goes through it. The other thing, of course, is trees produce a lot of roots. The Roddies don't actually have many roots, so if you can, like I say, kill them at the stumps like this, there isn't a huge amount to dig up, but obviously these trees have huge amounts. So if we are going to put a road down as well, I'm also a bit reticent to dig deep and start ripping up the roots and possibly endanger the foundations of the trees. What I'd prefer to do is maybe build over the top. There are ways of building forestry roads that basically involve you layering gravel on top rather than digging down. So I'm going to have to try and figure that out as well. But for the moment, you can get up here. I've gotten up here a few times using my Jimny. That thing's a little go anywhere mountain goat. So you don't just need a tractor to get up here. You can get up here with a car. It's just quite muddy. But once I start killing these Roddies on a larger scale, stripping and clearing a lot more of them out the way, it's gonna look a lot better. It's gonna look a lot clearer. I will say, you know, I've got footage of this place from the start of the year. You could stand up, but the Roddies were this close to you. We had basically built a tunnel when we were kids that ran through here, and it was still fine. The inside of the Roddies is actually relatively spacious, and once you've sort of pruned them, you can kind of walk through them for years and leave it like that. But you could barely move, and you could not see the sky at all. It was completely black and caved in. So we've really stripped and cleared a lot of that out, and you know, it happens a lot faster than you think, really. So yeah, quite nice. An example here of some of the detritus and junk. You know, we used to build dens in here, and everywhere you go, you'll find stalls that we set up for little kind of like play markets. There's an old drawbridge down there. We had a 2-story fort that we built just down the road. We obviously had the tree house up there too. This was the gym. So there was a granny walker that's now gone, you know, like those little walker devices. There's old boys and fish crates. There's still one hanging up that we used as well, and all this stuff's been sitting in here. There's a lot of like old windows, bits of old trailers and stuff like that too. The windows are a big problem because it means you've got broken glass around here. But compared to a lot of spaces, up there is completely clear. There's not any old junk sitting in the ground. It's really completely fresh, unbuilt on land, which is great, because a lot of the time here you're trying to build and you're discovering like old caravans that have been buried, or yeah, old trailers and junk that's just been dumped up here and the kind of rhododendrons have swallowed up. So you know, it's there's little bits and pieces all the way down here, but from this point onwards and up, it's actually relatively clear. It's not too bad. So yeah, it's a wee bit later now. It started raining, as is Scotland in the wintertime, and the camera battery ran out. So I'm actually now back in my room, a wee bit later again, and now drawing plans. I've been sketching out ideas for years. I really want something that's quite simple, 4 walls and a roof, really, because I'm trying to build on a budget. I'm trying to build it relatively quickly and doing some of the work myself. So timber frame, as is common in Scotland, we build most stuff timber frame rather than down in England, and where they basically like get foundations and start building up bricks. Tends to be more common to a timber frame here, wood frame. It's probably what I'm looking at the moment, and it's a bit of a rough sketch, but you're going to be looking at a house that is primarily pointing out, so the eaves probably pointing out towards Glamig that I mentioned earlier on, with a kind of combined living room, kitchen area at the front, with a bedroom at the back and a utility room, and then stairs leading up to the upstairs. Quite simple. It's quite small, but again, I'm trying to build to a budget, trying to build quite small because I like small buildings. I like small houses, and I know that a lot of people are like, oh, well, you're going to regret that later on. But really, for me, the the primary thing is if I can build this and then within a budget build a garage and a workshop and various things, that's when I'd really be happy. So I'm going to be sketching out ideas and various things. I think what I'll do is we'll do another video later on about my ideas and plans and drawing and stuff. This was more a sort of introductory video, and it's a little bit more informal. This channel, you might have noticed, is not the normal channel that I upload to. I have another channel called, I think it's just called Callum Raasay, youtube.com/Callum Raasay, in which I have more my kind of longer term projects like documentaries and various things that I make and my short films. This is, you know, a bit more behind the scenes. It's me building a house, and hopefully, and I will come back to you hopefully quite soon with more development both on the land and on the site and what I want to do with all of this. But for the moment, I'm going to carry on working. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Remember, if you do enjoy this, to like and subscribe, and just keep your fingers crossed that I can build a house. See you later.